Hey guys, YouTube 100 here. Okay, and in this video, I'm going to be doing something kind of unusual for a wrestling video. Because, yeah. So, oftentimes, like, when you're talking, like, with other wrestling fans, like, you're, like, talking about, like, what is your favorite thing in wrestling, like, various things about wrestling, like, what's your favorite match, who's your favorite wrestler, what's your favorite wrestling event, and, like, what's your favorite championship, and all this other stuff that we, like, talk about, and, yeah, people are, like, always giving their opinions about, uh, like like they like a match better than a certain match. They like one show better than another show, and I just like yeah. In the wrestling world, like we all have our opinions about like what matches we like and like what moment is our favorite of a certain era or in a certain time in wrestling. Yeah, so yeah. So wrestling is a very subjective thing. Like we all do like have our opinions about like what we do like. But oftentimes, well, I shouldn't really say oftentimes, but every now and again you will like hear some fans really like making like some comments that are like pretty ignorant and just stuff that is clearly not true and just even like when it is like a subjective topic like yeah, there are some things that clearly are not true that some wrestling fans do say. So, yeah, and it just is like a whole bunch of like stuff that wrestling fans may say that just is clearly not true. Like, there's like just some stuff that people really do think that really is not the case, and I can really just go on about like how many things like this people really do say. So for this video, what I've decided to do is I'm going to be counting down my picks for what I think the top 10 facts about wrestling are that fans really do need to face. Because, yeah, with these 10 things, with these 10 like facts I do have, like, there are like just some people that really will just like say that, like, pretty much like this stuff isn't true and that like they have a like they really do like say that like there's a certain thing about wrestling that is like true when it's like clearly not, even when it is a subjective case. Yeah, there are just like some things that clearly are not true that some people do say. So yeah, so in this video, I'm just gonna count down like my picks for the 10, well, my 10 facts that I really do feel that wrestling fans really do need to face. Yeah, so yeah, some people may not like this video. I do have a feeling that like some people are really gonna like dislike this video because there's probably gonna be some facts on here that people really are not gonna like, and people really just are thinking that I'm really like saying something negative about stuff, which I'm not necessarily doing. I'm not necessarily saying that making like negative comments about these subjects. Well, there is some stuff that I am going to be like talking some negativity about, but yeah, not all of these things I'm really going to be talking about negativity on. I'm just going to really like give explanations on why these facts are like things that people really need to face and really just like back up my case for all these facts that I do have on the list. So yeah, so I know I have a feeling that people are probably going to dislike this because they really just you have trouble really facing this. But if you do that, then it pretty much is just like proving my point about like why people really do need to face these facts I'm going to have in this list. Okay, so yeah, I am probably going to piss people off, but that's not my intent. It is just like me really just like getting this stuff just like coming straight forward about the stuff that people really do need to face about wrestling. So this is really just mainly going to cover WWE. Like, yeah, pretty much like yeah, all these facts are really just like considering WWE. Though yeah, there are a couple of things I do have. Well, yeah, there's some stuff that I do have on here that really isn't just like set around WWE. It is about wrestling in general. But yeah, this is mainly well, yeah, for the most part, this is really just going to cover like stuff in the WWE. All right. So yeah, so I won't waste like much time on this. So yeah, so let me just get started with this. So these are my top 10 facts about wrestling that fans need to face. All right, so let's just get started. All right, number 10 is pro wrestling is not about technical wrestling 24/7. Yeah, so so you may like if you're like talking with like a group of people, if you're all wrestling fans, or even if you're like just are watching like videos about wrestling, and you just like see in the comment and section that some people are just saying that like a match is bad because like neither guy can wrestle or and stuff like that. Like I've like seen some like comments on like some Hulk Hogan matches that really are legendary, and people are just saying like these matches are not good, and the wrestling was just boring and all this stuff. And it's not really just like limited to Hulk Hogan. Like some people like say this about like Stone Cold matches. Some people say this about Ultimate Warrior matches. Some people say this about like just yeah, like various wrestlers that like compete in some like really awesome matches, like some really great matches, and yeah, they're just like people that you might see like making comments saying that this match was horrible, like the in-ring action was sloppy and all this stuff. Like let me take like an example. Like let's like talk about like Hulk Hogan and The Rock at WrestleMania 18, for example. Yeah, like there are some people that really do just say that like this match really like is not really that all that good, and yeah, the action really wasn't entertaining and all that stuff. Like just pro wrestling really is just like not about the like the flippity floppity technical wrestling stuff 24/7. Just if you're into like all that, just into like the technical wrestling stuff, like what are you even watching the WWE for? Because WWE has never been about the technical wrestling. WWE has really been about like epic feels and drawing money and just yeah, just the atmosphere in general. And that really is like what makes like a lot of matches like this really just like so great. Like Hulk Hogan and The Rock is one of them, and Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 is another one. And they're just like other matches like this where just it's really not about like the technical wrestling. It really is just about like the story and the atmosphere and all this other stuff. Like there are times where like just like matches are bad from like a technical standpoint. And yeah, and you can like really say that like it really does like affect the match sometimes. Like there are some matches where like technical wrestling and really does matter, but yeah, it really is just like it's not always about like technical wrestling. So yeah, so people that are really just like into that, like I didn't even see like why they're watching the WWE for, because a lot of Hulk Hogan's matches, for example, have like really just been so epic because and they really just like have that yeah, huge feel, and they draw money, and it really is just like a big marquee match. And Hulk Hogan has had a lot of them, like his matches like with Ric Flair, The Rock, like uh, let's see, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, and yeah, it can just really go on and on of like all these like huge marquee matches Hulk Hogan's had. And yeah, and it's not really just the case with Hulk Hogan. Like John Cena has had some matches like this. The Rock has had matches like this. There's a Stone Cold has had matches like this. So yeah, so when it comes down to it, just like stop just seeing it from a technical standpoint. Look at it from just like the huge atmosphere and just how epic these matches really are. So yeah, so yeah, people really just need to like stop always like, well, people these kinds of people need to stop like bashing matches because like they don't find it good from a technical standpoint, because yeah, WWE is not about the technical stuff. So yeah, so people really just need to realize that and stop bashing matches for like not like being good from their side, from their standpoint, because of an in-ring perspective. So yeah, all right. So yeah, so I guess that's all I can really say about that one. All right. All right. Number 9 is the winner of a match doesn't mean that the winner is better than the loser of the match. So yeah, so this is something that I just really do find very ignorant of people to say, because there's often times where like people will like say that like the winner of a match is better than a loser of a match the because like the person who won the match was the winner. They defeated this person. Like like somebody being better isn't determined by simply winning a match. It's like, seriously, I mean, listen to what you're saying. Like, the loser is better. I mean, the winner is better than the loser. Like, seriously, I mean, what are you freaking talking about? Like, have you even seen like a lot of matches that have happened where like somebody has like a big star has really lost to like some mid carder or jobber? Like the Rock and the Hurricane, for example. The Hurricane has beaten the Rock before. Does that mean that the Hurricane is better than the Rock? Stephanie McMahon has beaten the Rock. She actually pinned him in the ring before. Does that mean that Stephanie is better than the Rock? Yeah, and yes, people are also like saying it with like the Rock's beaten Hulk Hogan twice. People saying that the Rock is better because he's beaten Hulk Hogan. Like that doesn't mean he's better. Yeah, people say that Brock Lesnar is better than The Rock because Brock Lesnar's beaten The Rock. That doesn't make Brock Lesnar better. Yeah, and it can really just go on and on of like how many times like people have just like said that like like a certain person is better than another one because that person has beaten the other person in a match. So just yeah, like that's just like a very stupid way of looking at it. Like just yeah, I mean you don't determine who's better simply by winning a match. Like like it has gone on like so many times in wrestling where like there's somebody that has like beaten a person in a match and people are saying that the winner is better than the loser. Like seriously, how does that determine who's better simply by winning a match? So it really is just so dumb of people to really look at it like that because I mean Diesel has beaten like Shawn Michaels before. Does that make Diesel better? I mean, and yeah, does Roman Reigns beating The Undertaker mean that Roman Reigns is better than The Undertaker? Like, just listen to what you're saying. I mean, are you even like, yeah, do you even like realize what you're saying? And if you like actually watch all these matches where like it's clear that like this a certain person is not better than the other one simply because that person beat them. So, yeah, it is really just like a dumb way of determining who's better by simply like just the winner of a match. So, yeah, that is something that just really irritates me when somebody says uh, that like a winner is better than a loser. So, yeah, just stop determining it like that because that is not how it works at all. Like like seriously, you don't determine who's better simply by who wins a match. You determine it by actually like who's like a bigger draw, who's a bigger legend, and really just like who's a better. It can come down to like who's a better wrestler and all this stuff. Like just and you're just like throwing all that away. Like none of that stuff matters. Just whoever wins that determines it. Just come on. So yeah, so that's just a really dumb way of like looking at who is better. And yeah, people just really need to stop doing that. Like it's not determined by who wins a match who's better. It's determined by like several different factors. So yeah, so people need to stop doing that and really like look at it like the actual way of who is better than others. So yeah. Okay. All right. And this actually really does like kind of like connect to like my next fact. Number 8 is SmackDown hasn't always been better than Raw. So yeah, so I just yeah, I already like kind of mentioned this a little bit in my last video when I reviewed Survivor Series 2005. I said that SmackDown like just simply winning the Survivor Series elimination match at that show doesn't mean that SmackDown was the better show. And yeah, it doesn't. And yeah, and I just see people like on like certain videos about like on SmackDown just saying like SmackDown was better than Raw when SmackDown was better than Raw. SmackDown's always been better than Raw. Just seriously, no, it hasn't. SmackDown hasn't always been better than Raw. There were times, well, there has been times when Raw was clearly better than SmackDown. I even talked about this before. I said I made a video before talking about like how Raw was clearly better than SmackDown at one point. Yeah, especially like in like the 2004 and 2005 period of the original brand extension. Raw was clearly the better show at that time. SmackDown during that time was just awful. So, yeah, and there's even been like times since then where Raw has been in the better show. Like, just SmackDown hasn't always been better because there was been a time that SmackDown was just absolutely awful. As I said, in 2004 and 2005, and even like even like in like the early 2010s, like Raw, and even like not just early, like just throughout the 2010s, just SmackDown just was so freaking bad, and like nobody watched it, and Raw was clearly better at that point. So yeah, so I just really it really just ticks me off how people are always saying that. Well, there's a lot of people that do say SmackDown has always been better than Raw. People saying that SmackDown was better than Raw when Raw was clearly better during in that time. So yeah, it really is just so dumb how people say that. Just the SmackDown fanboys need to stop kissing SmackDown's ass and realize that SmackDown hasn't always been better. There have been periods when Raw clearly was better than SmackDown. So yeah, so just Quit kissing SmackDown's ass like that. Stop always saying SmackDown was better than Raw. SmackDown's always been better than Raw, and all this stuff. Just face facts that there have been times when Raw was better than SmackDown. Neither Raw or SmackDown have always been better than the other show. So it is just another one that really ticks me off, and I just am. It really gets me like so annoyed how people are always saying that. So people just shut up about like SmackDown always being better than Raw and face that there were times when Raw was better. All right. And speaking of being better, this once again kind of does get me to my next fact, which is number 7, and that is that WWE now is better than WCW in its last couple of years. So, yeah, I just cannot stand some idiots out there that are just like, some people are like on like some videos about like WCW during its last couple of years, like when they were like really horrible in like the 1999 through 2001 period, and there have been times like on YouTube where I like just like see some idiots commenting that WCW in its last couple of years is way better than WWE now. Yeah, all these just like idiotic haters of WWE now, just like saying that WWE today is like the worst it's ever been. Well, first of all, it's not the worst that WWE has ever been, and WWE now is still much better than WCW in its last couple of years. I mean, you want proof? Well, look at this. WCW died out after only just a couple years of a horrendous product. WWE has been in the shape it's in for over like 10 years now, and they're still around. So that right there just shows that the WWE is better. So it's just how stupid can people be to actually say that the WCW in its last couple of years was better than WWE? I mean, for one thing, like as I said, WWE being around today still, shows that they're better than WCW. And also, the WWE still does put out like good shows. Like they can still like have good shows, and they've had like plenty of them in the last several years. WCW, on the other hand, like just the year 2000 in general. Look at how horrible all the pay-per-views were in 2000. I've even reviewed some of them. Like that shows that the WCW was like a million times worse in its last couple of years than the WWE is now. Yeah, and plus, WWE at least still does have people that at least know what they're doing and don't like get out of control with the writing and just do stuff that just doesn't make any sense. And just like run roughshod around everything, and just like the company just gets so out of hand. While WCW, they just did everything wrong. Like the WCW title changed hands like a million times in 1999 and 2000. You couldn't keep track of who was the champion, and plus they made guys like freaking David Arquette and Vince Russo the WCW champion. Do you see any like Hollywood actors actually coming into the WWE now and becoming WWE champion? Like, for example, did you see like Vince Vaughn coming into the WWE and winning the WWE title to promote Fighting with My Family? No, you didn't. Do you see any other actors in like WWE films or anything actually coming into the company and winning the title to promote the movie? No, you don't. So yeah, there's like a whole bunch of examples here to show that WWE is nowhere near as bad as WCW was in its last couple of years. So people really just need to stop for being such idiotic haters and saying that WCW in its last couple of years is nowhere near as bad as the WWE today, because that is a load of BS and you know it. Like there's just so much stuff proving that the WWE today is nowhere near as bad as WCW was in its last couple of years. So that's just something that people just really need to face and just shut the frick up and freaking get your head out of your ass and see the light that how much better WWE is now than WCW, and there's a whole bunch of examples to prove it. So yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah. All right. And next up, number 6 is that negativity on something old school doesn't mean someone is a newer fan. Now, so I see comments about this on videos like just all the time. Like, there's people that out there that really just do want to whenever there is like something rightfully old that was bad, Like whenever somebody really does say that the match wasn't good, you get like fanboys from during that time that just come on and saying PG fan, PG kid, PG era fan, Cena fan, and all this other stuff. Really just like referencing like modern times in WWE. Just shut up. Like seriously, there that does not mean that somebody is a new school fan just because like they are like rightfully criticizing something old that is bad. Like seriously, these people just have like such idiotic mindsets about this, and yeah, people really do need to realize that like there has been stuff that is bad, and that there is still stuff today that well yeah people are people that say something bad are rightfully saying it's bad, and that doesn't automatically mean that they are a fan of the new of today and they don't like it better than back then. Because people need to face that there was bad stuff off back during like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and all those like past eras. Like seriously, people like just hating on something from like old times does not mean that they are fans and they like today's product better. So yeah, it just really pisses me off when people say that. But like seriously, I mean, if you guys really just must be like totally young, ignorant idiots if you think that people are fans of like the newer product and they like it more than old products just because they rightfully say that there was something old bad because there was plenty stuff from like older times that was bad, and it doesn't mean that they like the new product better. So yeah, and this even like actually does like also connect to my next point. Number 5 is not everything old is good and not everything new is bad. So yeah, like I just said, this really does actually like connect with what I was just saying because yeah, as I like you do have people that really will like rightfully say that there was like something old that was not good and just say something negative against it. And then there'll be like some fanboys from the time that'll just come and just call these people PG kid and all this stuff. And they also say that like this is better than any like they're on like old videos saying this is better than anything WWE has done like the last 10 years, last 15 years and all this other stuff. And yeah, just people freaking realize that like there was like some bad old stuff and like there's like still like plenty of good stuff now. This also does kind of like go with what I was just talking about like how WWE today is better than WCW. And I just people need to realize that there's plenty of stuff from like old school eras like the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and yeah, those old eras that were bad. Like the year 1995, for example, like that was a horrible year. Like that was WWE's worst year ever. Yeah, and even like other years, like 1999, those were bad too. So yeah, and even just like throughout the years, there was like plenty of bad matches and bad shows and yeah, just a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, and there's people that really do say that it's better than anything WWE has done in the last 10 years and stuff. Like just shut up. In the last 10 years, WWE has had like a lot of good shows. They still do have a lot of really good matches, and just yeah, there is still good stuff now. So yeah, people really just need to pull their head out of their ass, quit kissing old school WWE's ass, and just freaking get it through your head and realize that like just old doesn't equal good, and new doesn't equal bad. Like just there can be good or bad at any times, and yeah, it also really annoys me because I recently saw a comment on like some old video like with from during the WWF times, and there was some idiot that just said like when you see the WWF logo, you know it's iconic. Like that does not equal iconic. There can be good or bad at any time. So it doesn't matter if it's past or present. Like good or bad can happen at any time. Like old doesn't equal good and new doesn't equal bad. That's not how it works. Good or bad can happen at any times, and just people really do need to realize this and stop having that idiotic mindset. All right. Okay. So yeah. All right. Number 4 is the Intercontinental title did not mean something in the early 2000s. Now, what really I what I really mean by that is just there are like people that are I really do think like the Intercontinental title like was like still like very prestigious in the early 2000s, and it really just like lost prestige like like in like the mid 2000s or the late 2000s or whatever. And that's not the case at all, because the Intercontinental title had been losing prestige since 1999, because there was like that period like between 1999 and 2003 where the Intercontinental title was just like thrown around to everybody like it was nothing. Like every 2 weeks or every 2 months, you'd see a new Intercontinental champion. Like it was really hard to really keep track of who was the Intercontinental champion. Like it changed hands so much. And just, yeah, and I've seen like videos from that time of people like saying that this is when the Intercontinental title was important, and all this other stuff. Really, you're just like saying that the Intercontinental title was a big deal during that time, and it wasn't. Like just because, yeah, WWE was just like throwing around the Intercontinental title like it was nothing, and and it was just like losing a whole ton of prestige in the early 2000s. Like it was not a big deal during that time. And there's also some people that also do want to make the argument that today the Intercontinental title is even more worthless than it was during that time. And even then, that's not true either, because while like now, like I'll just take the last 10 years for example. Yeah. Now, like the Intercontinental title may not be like the big deal that it was in like the 80s and the 90s, but yeah, today, well, in the last 10 years, WWE has like at least still been like trying to redeem the Intercontinental Championship. They like give guys like longer reigns. They make them look stronger as champions, and we have seen like some like good champions in that time. Well, like between the time and from 1999 to 2003, there really were not any good champions. Like some people do want to say that Chris Jericho is the greatest Intercontinental Champion, but he's not. I made a video about that before. All right, yeah, and yeah, and just they're just like other like people that really do say like the Intercontinental title was like a meant more back then than it does now. When now, like yeah, just the 1999 to 2003 run of the Intercontinental title was a pretty like bad run for the title, because it was just like losing a ton of prestige until like Randy Orton won the title, and he did like bring some prestige back to the title along with Shelton Benjamin's reign in 2004 and 2005. Yeah, but yeah, just in the early 2000s, just the Intercontinental title, it wasn't a big deal and it wasn't important. Just that was during the time where it just lost a whole bunch of prestige. So yeah. So that's something people really need to face and stop saying that it was still a big deal back then, because it wasn't. All right. Number 3 is higher ratings don't mean the product is better than lower ratings. Yeah. So I've just like seen like some people saying that like the WWF for the WWE was better a certain year than they were like in another year, because the the ratings in that year were higher than the ratings from another year. Like, but that's not really the case at all, because ratings don't really mean that it means the product is better, because like there were times where like the ratings were like actually like higher at one point than they were at another point, but the point with the lower ratings was still like actually a better period for the company. Like take like the Monday Night Wars for example. Like of course like there was the time like in like 1996 through 1998 where like Nitro like beat Raw for like 84 weeks straight. Hey, like if they like were on top until April of 1998. If that was when like the WWF or when Raw did finally break WCW streak and surpass them in the ratings. But I mean, you could really make a strong argument that like in the last few months of 1997, Raw was actually better than Nitro during that time. Even though like a Nitro was still winning in the ratings during that time, you could make the argument that like by the last few months of 1997, Raw was actually better by that point. Yeah. Yeah, and plus also like 1999 for example, like Raw in 1999 had like some of the highest ratings that they ever got, but when really just like the previous 2 years, like 1997 and 1998, 1998 in particular, like that was a much better time for like the WWF than 1999 was, because like I said before, like 1999 it really wasn't a good year for the WWF, because it was like a pretty bad year, because like just like for some various reasons. So and there like have been some other examples of like times where like the ratings were like higher, and people say that that is a better time than another time with lower ratings, when that's not the case. Like, the ratings don't mean that the product is actually better. Like, it's the quality of the product that actually does determine what is better. So yeah, so the ratings aren't actually equal to the quality of the show. Like, yeah, so yeah, it's not all about the ratings. So yeah, so the ratings really don't determine which show is actually better, because as I said, like, there were times like during the Monday Night Wars, even like when WCW was still winning, that Raw was arguably better. So yeah, so people need to really just stop making the judgment by the ratings and just actually see, like, determine it by the quality of the actual product of which is better, and not the ratings. Yeah, so that's just something that people really do need to face as well. All right. Number two is every wrestler has a bad match in their career. Yeah. So, so there have been like sometimes, like, I've just seen like comments on like some wrestling videos of people saying that there's a certain wrestler that never had a bad match in their career. Like, there are people that do say it about guys like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, The Rock, and yeah, just like all these other wrestlers, like, just saying that they never had a bad match in their career. Like, yes, they have. Every wrestler has had bad matches. There is no perfect wrestler. Like, even like the best wrestler in the world is going to have a bad match at least once in their career, and they have, like, just like there have been times where, like, even like some of the most popular and some of the best wrestlers of all time, they have had bad matches. Like, for example, take Bret Hart for example. Like, a while back, I did see a comment on a video saying that Bret Hart never had a bad match in his career. Yes, he did. Like, have you seen his WrestleMania 11 match with Bob Backlund? Have you seen the Kiss My Foot match against Jerry Lawler at King of the Ring 1995? Have you seen his match with Vince McMahon at WrestleMania 26? So yeah, so Bret Hart has had bad matches in his career here. Like, and Shawn Michaels, he also had some bad matches in his career. Like, some of his like early matches, like, those were never really that good. And even like sometimes when like was really like the showstopper, he did have like bad matches during those times also in his like run in the 2000s. Yeah. And also, like, I get the feeling that like some people do like praise wrestlers like that because they're either dead or retired. Like Eddie Guerrero, for example. Eddie Guerrero, like, if I've just seen like some comments saying, or people saying that like every match he had was great. No, it wasn't. No, they weren't. He had bad matches in his career. Like, look at his match at WrestleMania 17 with Test. That really wasn't a very good match. And he's had some other matches that really were not very good either. Yeah, so yeah, this is really just something that is pretty ridiculous of people to say. Like, just like whenever like somebody says that like there's a wrestler that never had a bad match in his career, bollocks. Like, he every wrestler does have a bad match. Like, there is no perfect wrestler in the world at all. Like, as I said, every wrestler is going to have a bad match in their career at least once. So don't ever say that there is a wrestler that never had a bad match, because every wrestler does have a bad match. Yeah, so that's really just something that is probably one of the biggest points that people really do need to really face facts about. So yeah, and that is really, I guess, why I do have it so high on this list. All right, and my number one fact about wrestling that fans need to face is Stone Cold versus The Rock is not the best rivalry of all time. Yes, I said that. Stone Cold versus The Rock is not the greatest rivalry. Yeah. So, yeah. So, of course, like, Stone Cold and The Rock, like, they were, like, the two biggest stars of the Attitude Era. And with, like, the WrestleMania matches that they've had, people are, like, saying that it's the best rivalry of all time. No, it's not. Despite the fact that, like, how popular the two of them were, and that they did have, like, the three big matches at WrestleMania, that does not mean their feud is the greatest, because really think about it. Stone Cold and The Rock never really did feud for that long. I mean, they really did only like feud like leading into WrestleMania with their 3 WrestleMania matches. Like, outside of WrestleMania, how many times can you actually remember them feuding? Like, I can really only remember like 3 other matches that they had with each other. There was their match at Backlash 1999. There was their steel cage match the night after WrestleMania 17, and there was their match at Rebellion 2001. Like, what other matches they really have with each other? And I'm not talking about like matches where they both were involved in, like the winner take all match at Survivor Series 2001 or anything like that. I'm actually talking about one-on-one matches between Stone Cold and The Rock. How many others did they have? Yeah. And when did they really actually feud? Like, they never really had long, lengthy feuds. I mean, so yeah, so it is not the best rivalry because they really didn't have a whole really any long rivalries at all. Like, just the best rivalry of all time is Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. Like, that is the feud that really did make the WWF surpass WCW beyond the popularity. And yeah, it took up huge chunks of both 1998 and 1999. It was just like the #1 feud of the Attitude Era, and the feud that really did have people glued to their television sets. People always tuned into Raw to see Stone Cold and Vince McMahon feud. Yeah, and even like I've told that to some people, and they do agree with me that it is the best rivalry. But people then like do say that as far as like rivalries between wrestlers go, this is the best rivalry, and that's still not true because yeah, Stone Cold and The Rock did have better feuds with other guys than each other, and even there's like other feuds in general that are better than Rock versus Stone Cold because yeah, like Stone Cold and The Undertaker, for example, like those guys feuded pretty basically every year between 1997 and 2002. And yeah, and they were actually like long lengthy feuds. Yeah. And the same thing with like The Rock versus Triple H. Like, yeah, Triple H and The Rock feuded like basically all the time too. Like, yeah, like Triple H was The Rock's biggest enemy, not Stone Cold. Yeah. And there's also other rivalries out there. There's like Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. People can make the argument is better. There's a Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Even like Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair. Like, yeah, people do say that like Stone Cold and The Rock like are like the two the two greatest wrestlers of all time. That's Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair even like feuded for much longer than The Rock and Stone Cold did. So people really just need to really like stop overrating the Rock Stone Cold feud because it really is not as great as people really do make it out to be. He like they have had great matches with each other, but it doesn't mean that their feud is the greatest just because they were the two biggest names of the Attitude Era. Because people really do need to realize that they really didn't have that many matches with each other. They didn't really like feud for long periods of time, and yeah, it really is just it's not as great as people really do think it is. Like, it really is like probably one of the most overrated feuds of all time because it's not as great as people do say it is, just because they were the two biggest names. So this is like the biggest thing I really do think that wrestling fans need to face because Stone Cold and The Rock is not the greatest rivalry. They've had better rivalries. He's with other guys than they've had with each other, and there are other better feuds in general that and Rock versus Stone Cold. So this is really something that people really do need to face and just stop always saying that it's the best rivalry ever because it is not the best rivalry ever. All right. Okay. And so, yeah, so there you guys go. Those are my top 10 facts about pro wrestling that fans really do need to face. So, yeah, so I'm sure that some people really are not going to be happy. I'm sure, like, there are some things I've said that people don't like and they're going to dislike it. But, like I said, if you dislike this just because you don't like what I've said, I mean, it really is just proving my point. So, yeah, so I'm not really wasn't really trying to say any of this stuff to piss anybody off, but I really just wanted to say this because these are things that wrestling fans really do need to face and not make such ignorant comments about it. So, yeah. So, if there's anything else that I really didn't say about any other facts like this I really didn't say. If there's something that you really do think wrestling fans do need to face, comment on my channel and tell me what else you really do think fans need to face about wrestling. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So I hope you guys did enjoy what I had to say about this, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.